adults. The Denver District Attorney's Office charged Bowie and Seymour with 60 felony counts, including first-degree murder, attempted murder, first-degree and second-degree assault, first- and fourth-degree arson, first- and second-degree burglary, conspiracy charges, and other sentencing enhancers. So these two creeps got hit with dozens of charges each. Keep that in mind, you'll be seeing that again later. Though it does bear noting that no sooner than the arrests were made, the police chief decided to tell the white media that it wasn't a hate crime. There hadn't been a trial, the investigation wasn't even concluded yet, and he was already saying this wasn't a hate crime. Gee, does anyone get the feeling that the fix was in? Seymour's attorneys tried to get the search warrant thrown out. They argued that it violated Seymour's Fourth Amendment rights, but the Colorado Supreme Court upheld the use of the warrant. Now, when it comes to indicting rappers for their lyrics, that's never characterized as controversial by the white media. The all-in laws, which are mostly used to prosecute black people, aren't controversial either. But to go after suspects using digital technology because they killed some black folks, well, that is controversial. And to be fair, the Colorado authorities are no doubt already planning how they can use these keyword warrants to go after black people. So let's be real about this. They didn't do this to do us any favors. Now, you won't be surprised to learn that this wasn't Kevin Bowie's first foray into criminality. In fact, it runs in his family. Kevin Bowie's also a drug dealer who worked with another drug dealer, his sister Tanya. Shortly after her degenerate brother was arrested, Tanya Bowie would be arrested by the feds, and she got charged with drugs and gun trafficking charges, as well as accused of having been involved in the planning for the arson murder that her brother committed. As a federal magistrate put it, for a 23-year-old to own a Tesla Model S worth $80,000 who has no reported income from legitimate employment is very strange. It is also strange that you'd own a $20,000 Lexus. So the headlines about Kevin Bowie should have read, drug dealing criminal charged with arson that kills 5. In February of 2022, Tanya Bowie pleaded guilty to possession of fentanyl with intent to distribute, as well as possession of a firearm in furtherance of a drug trafficking offense. In July of 2022, she became the first of this criminal band to go to prison, being sentenced to 10 years in the federal pen. Prosecutors had all of these killers dead to rights with airtight cases. The only way that these guys don't go to prison for multiple life sentences would be if the prosecutors just suddenly decided to drop all the charges. Which is what they did. In February of 2023, Dylan Siebert was sentenced to 7 years in district court, as well as a suspended sentence of 26 years. So he takes part in murdering 5 people, including 2 babies, and destroying a home, and he gets the kind of sentence someone gets for drunk driving. As for Gavin Seymour, remember those 60-plus charges that he got hit with? Well, prosecutors decided that 59 of them were a little bit too much, so they handed him a plea deal for a mere second-degree murder charge, and as for the dozens of other charges, they just dismissed them as part of his plea deal. In March of this year, he was sentenced to only 40 years in prison. He committed 5 acts of premeditated murder, with 2 of his victims being babies, and he only has to plead to 1 second-degree murder charge. This month, Kevin Bowie was sentenced to 60 years. He only had to plead guilty to 2 second-degree murder charges instead of the 5 premeditated murders he actually committed. His 60-plus other charges were also dismissed, and prosecutors went beyond that. They even dismissed a drug case that he had picked up while he was in jail helping to traffic drugs with his sister. So they used to bring the cases, not because they didn't have the evidence, not